Hi, I'm Sam, and as you can probably see behind me, today we have a Kia EV6. This is the GT Line S long range. The GT Line S bit is the sort of spec of the car. Long range is battery pack size, which is about 77 kilowatt hours, gives you more range over the not long range. And let's have a little look around and I'll give you my thoughts of the car. One of the things, classic, you park somewhere where you think, this looks pretty cool, it's freezing at the moment, and then people just start parking right next to you. There's tons of space over here, but people always come and park next to you, don't they? So let's have a little look around the car. So I asked Kia if I could have a go in this car. I've recently driven the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and I sort of said to myself, which would be the one that, if I was going to buy one of these, which would be the spec? It would be something like this. It would not be the GT, which is the fast one with the dual motors and like whatever it is, 500-600 horsepower, because I go, well, it's an EV, so I want range, and it's a sort of comfortable family SUV type vehicle, crossover. What's going to give me the most range? So I would go for the smallest wheels possible, which actually in the GT Line S, you don't get the smallest wheels, you get the 20-inch wheels. Smaller wheels gives you a little bit more range. These are pretty decent. You also get, in the GT line, you get a sort of more aggressive front end. I will do a back and forth of the two now. These bits here are body colored rather than black. And yeah, you get just a bit of a different body kit on it. And then a bunch of interior spec stuff. So my usage so far, I've had it for a couple of days. We've done a longer trip. Yesterday, about an hour and 20 minutes each way, mainly motorway and then back. This morning it was -6. The car telling me 220 miles of range. And from my driving experience, this car has a heat pump. That is what you're going to get. Make what you will of that, I think. And then in summer, you should get a reasonable amount more. Maybe a bit more mixed driving in town, etc. That should go up. But I was reasonably happy with that. And for me, that would work pretty well. And you can charge very fast with this car. It has 800 volt architecture, which basically means it can accept charge pretty fast. And you can charge up to 350 kilowatts, which is crazy fast. If you can find a 350 kilowatt charger, happy days. And then it will go from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, which if you're used to filling up with petrol cars and you go, oh, it doesn't take that long. The reality actually is, if you plug in on a long journey, as soon as you get out of the car, and then you go get a sandwich and you have a little break and have a little wander around, you do actually clock up time quite quickly. You might turn up at a service place, drive to the main whatever, go get your food, blah, blah, coffee, probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. And then you get in your car and you then drive to your BP station or whatever it is, and you then fill up a couple of minutes there. So it's a little switch on the process, and actually it's not too bad. I've not charged this out on the road. I've charged this at home. Let's have a little look in the car whilst I'm talking about some of these things. And excuse all the camera gear. This is the interior. Now versus the Ioniq 5, you actually have, this doesn't feel as spacious. The Ioniq 5, you just have so much space. This center console moves back and forth, but as I'll discuss later, there's some benefits to it not doing that. Mainly, that you get some buttons and stuff on it. This, I'm not 100% sure what this is. I think this is a little cable tie. So if you've got a cable, and you just tuck that in there, maybe your iPhone cable or something, just keeps it out of the way. I think that's what it's for. Or maybe it's for some shopping. You put your shopping in these big bins. One of the things about these EVs, down here, this is your full recline button. If you've not seen that, basically press this and the seats go super far back. Now let's park my butt here for a second. Take a little seat. I'll run you through the different sort of spec packages you get with this car. It starts off with the Air, which actually one of the things with these is they have quite high level of base spec. So you don't necessarily need to add much. So the Air is the bottom model, and that has adaptive cruise, heated seats, heated steering wheel. That's probably a lot of the stuff that you might want. I definitely don't use much more than that in a car. Then you get the GT line, which, as I said before, is the body kit, and then also you still have the 19-inch wheels, which you get on there, and then you can have the option to do vehicle to load. So you'll see, probably might have seen loads of videos of people doing that sort of thing, where you can plug in a 3-pin plug to your car, and operate some electric chainsaw or whatever you want. Maybe if you're camping, you could use that to you cooking, whatever, all sorts of stuff. And it has the premium relaxation seats, which are these ones, and they're pretty good. They're pretty comfy. You've got the wireless mobile phone charging, which if you use CarPlay, I think is, unless the CarPlay is wireless, it's a completely defunct option. So in this car, it's not wireless, but whatever. You can leave your thing on the wireless charger, which also is cooled, or is at least vented. Whereas if you might have used wireless charger in some other cars where you put the phone on it, and then it gets really, really hot over time, which is not going to be good for your phone, not good for your battery. So I thought that was quite neat. And you've got the dual LED headlines with adaptive driving beam. I've not really used that, but you know, it goes up and down and whatever and all that sort of stuff. And then the body color arches, which you can just might be able to see on here, which I think look reasonably good. You might prefer the other. And then it goes up to the GT Line S. Now, with the S, you get the powered tailgate. Great feature. I like a powered tailgate. You can do that from the key or underneath. It's kind of like a little button. You get the heads-up display. Now, if you're wearing polarized sunglasses like these, you cannot really see the heads-up display. I also can't see the display on my camera, which is fun. And you get blind spot avoidance assist, rear cross traffic. So you get a few sort of assists around the car. Actually, when I was driving, I turned off the lane one. It's a sort of lane assist thing because it was getting kind of annoying. And you can ramp down the settings. So you can have it as an intervention or warning or off. I was driving down some country lanes, so I turned it off. With the intervention on it, it does correct you, which if you were sort of dozing off or whatever, happy day is great. It will also do with the adaptive cruise. It will keep you in your lane as you drive along, stuff like that. Other options, panoramic sunroof. Now, actually, this is an odd one. You use the panoramic sunroof and you press the button to go click. It opens and then it opens the sunroof. Now, if you just want to retract the sort of shield thing so you can see out the top, you seem to have to stop it in the middle. There might be another way. If there's another way, someone answer in the comments, I'd be interested to know. But by one touch, it opens the sunroof rather than just removes the cover and then another touch opens it. Slightly annoying. You get the Meridian sound system, which sounds great. I've not tried the non-Meridian sound system, so I can't comment on that, but it sounds good. And the car is reasonably refined, so the audio quality is good and doesn't deteriorate much at speed, which you get with some cars. The GT Line S also has remote smart park assist. I've not used that. Don't think I'll ever use that. It has automatic door handles. Now, I'm not exactly sure how these work because you unlock the car and they pop open, you get out. But I got out of the driver's side door, walked around to take photos, tried to get back in the passenger side, and these were in and locked. And I had to go and I couldn't actually get in. I had to walk around. I didn't have the key on me. Walk around to the driver's side, get the key, unlock it, walk around, and then I could get in again, which was a bit weird. But so I'm not 100% sure how they work. I would say they're slightly annoying. I quite like unlocked. You need to be able to get in the car. And just because they're popped out does not mean you can get in. Sometimes they're popped out and locked. So I kind of think it should be either locked in, unlocked out, and then however you want to work that. But the in-between is quite confusing. What's it like in the back? Well, it's pretty spacious, same as the Ioniq 5. Got loads of space here. This actually, the dark interior doesn't feel as airy. It doesn't feel as spacious as the Ioniq 5, but I think it is actually in reality pretty similar. You've just got tons of legroom. Now, the Ioniq 5 seats slide forward, these do not. What we've got, cup holders, etc. I think that, yeah, you can get through to the back, load through skis or whatever. We've got little charge ports here, which are quite nice, I think, for if you've got kids or adults or whoever, everyone can be juiced up. Have a little look in the back. Gubbins and whatnot. It's 480 litres, I believe. Very similar to the Ioniq 5. You can get a reasonable amount in here. It doesn't feel you don't feel like you have too much height space here, but I suspect you can kind of get a deceptively large amount. What you could do is take this out, and then you get another, what's that, 5 centimeters of depth all the way through. And then on this side, this comes out as well. So you can have it completely flat loading, or take this whole thing out, there's not much under there, and get more luggage in. I think for most people, it's going to be pretty good. It's not class leading. But then again, actually, if you look at EVs, it possibly is class leading because none of them have very big boots. Your rear passengers are going to love this, heated seats in the back. And that is pretty much it. Let's get in the car, go for a bit of a drive, and I'll give you my driving impressions. Okay, let's go for a bit of a drive. I still, especially in town, do like driving an EV. It's just such a chilled way of getting about. Whatever the car is, doesn't even matter. The cheapest EV still delivers that quiet around town. You also get that in a hybrid. Right, driving thoughts. Steering. I would say the steering in the EV6 is better than the Ioniq 5. I just kind of feel a bit more. I think the Ioniq 5 was pretty numb and just kind of off you went. I'm feeling a bit of road. The driving position and whatnot, you're kind of enclosed. You feel like you're in a car, got all this stuff, is all quite close to you. And I kind of feel like, not like I'm in something more sporty, but it's that kind of enclosed environment, whereas some other cars are not like that. I really like the touch buttons here for heating steering wheel. I'm gonna put my seat heater on. Okay, this is something I've not worked out how to do. If you want to change the volume other than on the steering wheel, I don't actually know how you do that. Overall, I like the cabin. I like the little sort of cooling type pad with the wireless charging here. As mentioned, wireless charging, I think it's a bit pointless if you're using CarPlay. If you're not using CarPlay, I totally get it. If it's wireless CarPlay, even better. Memory functions for my seat here. Range, it's just, I don't think about it too much. This car, the display is pretty much what you're gonna get, which is helpful. My Peugeot is absolutely just wrong. I've noticed it's getting better. I don't know whether it's an update or it's just learning how I drive and whatnot. But anyway, on this morning, I think it said I got 215. That's charged and sort of warmed up. It was -5 this morning. So pretty damn cold, but also leads to all this frost on the trees, which is pretty cool. One of the reasons to go for something like this, especially the long range, is you don't have to worry too much about that stuff. This car will do 220 miles, pretty much, motorway, wherever, in the winter. I'm sure in the summer it will do a bunch more. That is a long way, and with the 800 volt architecture, it just means you can charge really fast. So you can do 350 kilowatt charging. Whether you can find one of those chargers is another matter, but there are some around, and that will give you 10% to 80% in 18 minutes, and you can do less than that, more than that, whatever, but 18 minutes for that, with that, as this sort of charging infrastructure develops and whatnot, that is an awful lot of range in not a long amount of time. So you can add 3-4 hours of driving in not very long. And that for me would work. Will I get an EV like this? At the moment, it's not for me because I just don't particularly want an SUV. And I think I would prefer like an estate. And also with the EVs at the moment, you don't have a massive boot, and I don't really want to have a roof rack and whatever. But could I live with this? Could I get by? Could I do all the stuff? 100%, no problem. You might see some deer running across here. I can charge at home. I'm not going to comment on if you can't charge at home. So I have a charger set up, and I have a dual tariff rate, which comes on for 4 hours of the day. It's 12:30 till 4:30 in the morning. So I just slightly try and schedule things between that. You can take your dishwasher to run during that time, whatever. Get your car to charge during that time. And it will give me 28 kilowatts. This is a 77 kilowatt hour battery. So it's going to take me 3 nights to go from 0 to full. But equally, I could just plug it in and say go, and it's going to charge up overnight. It's just the cheapest option if you're not that bothered. And it's very rare that I can't imagine a situation where I'm going to get home and I'm going to need to leave for a long journey straight away. So I could plug it in, turn it on, and it'll be charged overnight. But just to get it super cheap, I think it probably cost you, what is it going to cost you? £7 to sort of fill a tank? 220 miles, or what? That's probably 250, 260 in the summer. You might get more, you might get 300. In town, in theory, you should get 300, maybe even a bit more, but 300. It's super cheap driving, but that's completely ignoring the purchase price. You're buying an expensive car. This one's 50-ish, 52, 53,000 pounds, I think, in this sort of top range spec, which is, this is the sort of spec I would get, to be honest. I would consider getting the one below. I don't want the bigger wheels, but then there's some things I like. I do quite like this sunroof, but I personally would probably go one below, or get this spec with the lower wheels. You just get a bit more range and whatnot. But it's a really nice car. You can just use it. It's not. I think if you bought one of these, you would have to think about and plan your charging a little bit. But once you get used to that, I think it would probably be okay. In reality, for my driving, 200 miles of real world range at any time of year, and I'm not driving at 65, that would sort me completely. Most of my day trips and whatnot are less than that. Pretty much all of them are less than that. And then a couple of times a year, I might drive to Scotland or wherever, and you could probably be okay with it. Yeah, for me, I'm not quite there. I love my E63. It's definitely not the most frugal of cars, but it's not that bad. I don't drive it that much these days, and I don't drive it around town, which is when it gets horrific MPG. But I really like what Kia's doing. I think I like the steering wheel, nice size steering, whatever. We've got these paddles that you can click down, which change the regen. I think that's a very good function. You can click it all the way to the left, all the way down, and it's one pedal driving. And if you drive around like that, you're going to get better fuel efficiency. It's kind of the EV thing, isn't it? It's all about efficiency. And with a punchy range, you can drive further, faster. You're not necessarily restricted to driving at 60 miles an hour. If I was to take my E208 to Scotland, that would be a pretty painful experience, I think, charging a lot of time. Something like this, I think you'd only charge twice, go and see some friends and whatnot up there, and this you would charge twice. Now, I'm going to stop trying it twice, at least twice, in any car driving that sort of distance. So if you've got a charge for 15 minutes, or it's probably not even that much, it's probably 10 minutes and 10 minutes, or 15 minutes and 15 minutes, and then if you can charge when you get there, woo! You could 3-pin plug this. It would take a while, but you can 3-pin it. That's not the end of the world. I do like how on these displays, and I don't know whether it's just in this high spec option. The Ioniq 5 did it. I guess you need the cameras, but I think it has it. If you indicate left, a little display comes up and shows you a camera view of just the sort of rear 3/4. The bit, you can see it in the mirrors here, but it's super clear unless it's muddy or whatever. But I actually like that. I like that feature. I like that. It's in both of them, and I like it a lot. Suspension, the ride's pretty good. I think it could be a little bit more comfortable at low speed. I said the same about the Ioniq 5. I don't know what exactly that is. Whether it's the tyre, maybe the wheel size. It's pretty good. I just think it could be a little bit better. I'm really looking forward to the lower down cars to come from companies like Kia, Hyundai. You'll see it from other manufacturers as well. That's what I'm really looking forward to, because you get a car that's this high. I'm not particularly fussed about the raised driving position. It's sort of nice, but I don't like the rest of it that goes with it. So with something like the Ioniq 6, it's a perfect example. The Ioniq 5 gets 300 miles of range. The Ioniq 6, which is a similar platform, same batteries, same tech, whatever, but slippery, low down shape, you get 360 miles of range from the same stuff. And that just, to me, makes so much more sense. Now, if you can lay out the platform and sort of put the batteries in all sorts of places and have a slipperier shape and a bit more efficient and whatnot, you can possibly have a smaller battery, but you can then have a bigger boot. It just benefits and benefits and benefits. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of those cars, maybe Mercedes. I want a tiny hatchback, not a tiny hatchback, like a A3 size, Golf, etc., that has good range, good efficiency, good boot space. That's what I'm looking for at the moment, and a decent infotainment system. So the Kia, I prefer the infotainment system, 100%. But let's keep driving. I'll park up and I'll give you my final thoughts. Right there is one thing that needs to be sorted out. So the car key was in my coat. This is problem or situation with keyless go and all of that sort of stuff. So the car key's in my coat. I get out of the car. I want to get something out of the boot, out of the back here. It's locked. Don't know why it's locked. It's locked. Some sort of smart locking situation. I'm sure there's a button you can change all of that in the car, but I couldn't get in the back. The key was in my pocket. Don't know how you do it, so I had to climb, put my hand through, unlock, get the key out, get my coat out, key out, whatever. I don't know, just pain in the arse. That locking system, I would resolve that whatsoever. Anyway, let's give you my final thoughts on the Kia EV6 in the long range and this GT Line S. Well, honestly, I think it's really good. I think you could use this if you're after a sort of comfortable family car, I think you could use this no problem whatsoever. I could use this no problem whatsoever. I'm not quite ready for the change. I don't want a big sort of SUV, and there's no lower cars to come along and things like that, but it does everything pretty well. I guess the million-dollar question, not really a million-dollar question, a question is, would I have this over the Hyundai Ioniq 5? And to be honest, I would. I prefer the driving. I think it drives a little bit better. I think I prefer this sort of seating area. The Ioniq 5 has some really great, spacious features and neat bits and pieces, seats move forward, back, all that kind of stuff. But I prefer the driving situation in here. I really like, this is like small but big, is these buttons here for seat heating, cooling, stuff like that. Just day to day, I press those buttons quite a lot. It's a little bit slippier in terms of efficiency, whatever. I would have to have a long range. Would I be comfortable driving this in winter and having this, using this all the time? No problem whatsoever. 220 miles of range in like real world in the winter, and presumably you get a lot more than that in summer, would sort me right out. And it charges really fast. So I could use one of these. I will not buy one because I'm not ready for this particular setup. I'm enjoying my E63. But when I am loving what Kia is doing. I was actually looking at some of their smaller cars because we're replacing the E208 at the moment, and maybe the new Kona or something. I don't know, I'm going to go drive it anyway. I really like what Kia are doing. I think it's a really nice car, feels quality. The GT Line S has a lot of nice features on it, some slight quirks as we've talked about, but it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing, great thing. It's just a really good car, and that's whether it's electric or EV or petrol or whatever, it's just a good car. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and see you in the next video.